Welcome to Trailblazers and Titans with your host, Dr. Keith Haney. Trailblazers and Titans is your go-to podcast for insights, inspiration, and actionable advice from the world's most successful entrepreneurs and leaders. Each episode features in-depth interviews with industry pioneers, innovative thinkers, and business moguls who share their journeys, challenges, and strategies for success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned leader, or someone looking to make a significant impact, this podcast provides the tools and motivation to blaze your trail and become a titan in your field. Tune in to learn, grow, and transform your vision into reality.
My guest today, Louis Pelliccioni Jr., is a dynamic professional and a diverse career spanning multiple industries. With over 6 decades of experience in coaching, finance, real estate, and business ownership, Lou brings a wealth of knowledge and a proven track record of success to every endeavor. In sports, Lou made a lasting impact as a basketball coach at both the middle and high school levels, leading teams to 2 state championships and maintaining an impressive winning percentage of over 80%. Lou was also an assistant coach at multiple universities, including West Virginia University. During his tenure at WVU, they won a couple of conference championships and had a winning percentage of 69%. Lou has worked with multiple all-conference players who went on to play after college at different levels, including the NBA. In finance, Lou has spent over 40 years as a financial advisor, earning national recognition. Lou earned upper echelon status as prestigious firms like Prudential Service Securities, Wachovia Securities, Wells Fargo Advisors, and Lou now, with his son, Bryce, manages an independent financial advisory firm where they continue to serve clients with expertise and integrity. As a real estate professional, Lou has been involved in multiple homes, single rentals, multiple unit rentals, retail, commercial properties for more than 55 years. In addition, Lou has been a successful entrepreneur, having owned and operated a variety of businesses across different sectors. As an author, Lou has written and co-authored 4 different books, 2 of which were self-published about basketball, 2 were nationally published about success and handling stress. When now advising clients or mentoring other people, Lou continues to inspire others with a commitment to success and integrity. We welcome Lou to the podcast. Well, Lou, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm glad to talk to you. This has been an exciting conversation. This is my second coach that I've talked to on my podcast.
Oh, boy. Well, you're in trouble. The biggest problem is getting us to shut up. Is the biggest problem you have with a coach.
No problem. Looking forward to it. But we're going to start out with my favorite question. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Well, can I give you 2 or 3?
Sure. That'd be great.
Okay. I was 7 or 8 years old. I was outside playing, and my mother came out and said, "Son, where did you get those army men?" And I said, "Well, I got them from Johnny up the street." She said, "Did he give them to you?" And I said, "Well, he's got lots of them." She grabbed me by my hand. She said, "Take the army men," walked me up the street, didn't say a word. Went to Johnny's house. We knocked on the door, pleasantries, and she looked at me, and I handed the army men back over to Johnny. And, Johnny's mother was there, didn't understand. She says, "Oh, no, Johnny has hundreds of these." I said, "Doesn't matter. He was not given these, and that's not right." So we started back down the street. My mother gave me a great lesson in values and integrity and honesty, and I remember it to this day. Integrity is a very, very important part of any success in anything that I've done, because I would never do anything just to win. That's a lot of the title of my book, Success is More Than Winning. Then when I was 12 years old, I was working for my father in a shop. He had an electrical shop. And he says to me, he said, "Son," he said, "I'm going to start paying you by the hour," because he was just paying me some money and so forth. And so one day he says, "I'm going to pay you by the job." And I didn't understand. I was 12 years old. I was playing around too much. And so the first paycheck, I didn't get as much money. And I said, "Well, there's something wrong. I'm supposed to get this much per hour." He said, "No, remember, we changed it to how much you got done in the hour."
Oh, okay.
I said, well, that's not fair. And I said, why? And we had a nice conversation. He said, son, never forget this. And I never have. You don't get paid for spending time during the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour.
Mm.
And I've never forgot that. In fact, I actually use that when we hire people and let them know this is what they're getting paid for and whatever they can do. And those were wonderful lessons. And then I was very fortunate. My parents believed in God and taught me the respect of God and so forth. And I've tried to live my life with those three principles.
What would it be like if most people live by that second one? I'm just curious how the job culture would look if people were taught that you get paid by what you do in the hour, not just by the hour.
You know what's funny, Keith? Actually, people have said, I've never heard that before. When I talked to them, I said, well, there's something wrong with that if you've never heard it. And that's the problem. We just think that we put in time.
Right.
And I've tried to teach both of my sons this, and they are both hard workers. And I'm always very proud that when I go to where they work, the managers just say, oh my gosh, I'd take 100 of your kid. And that makes me feel very good that I've taught them some things about hard work and what you owe someone that's paying you money.
I love that. As you think about your life, Lou, who were some people for you that were mentors for you, or maybe even an inspiration on your journey?
Well, besides my mother and dad, which were I was just so lucky. Neither my mother or my dad were educated, but they were very intelligent, wholesome, good people. And as I get older and as I've gotten older, I've realized, boy, how lucky. In fact, I'm not so sure, Keith, I've done as well as I should have to have had as good of parents as I had when I realized that a lot of people weren't that blessed. And so that helped start everything because everything goes back to those lessons. But one of the things that research proves to us, it's kind of interesting, that if you have a mentor or someone that you looked up to that gives you great advice and so forth, you have a 65% better chance of being successful on your goals. If you are continuous with that coaching or mentor, you have a 95% chance because somebody else is telling you what you do wrong. So anytime, in fact, there's a chapter in the book about the importance of mentors and coaches. And when I was really 19 when I started coaching. I was coaching in junior high. And my first job, I was 21 and I was coaching in a high school. First place I went was to my idol, John Wooden.
Mm.
I went out and watched a UCLA practice and learned the 4 mindsets of success and watched him do it. And how lucky at 21 years old. And I've pretty much followed all his principles from his definition of success and the idea of staying even keel. Now we're talking 50 years ago when I was coaching high school, more than 50. And everybody was a screamer and a yeller except me. I was not because of John Wooden. Keep everything even keel. And I've been that way most of the time. I very seldom lose my cool. And every once in a while, it happens. The devil enters in and says, how are we going to do this to you? But yeah. And then in finance, I was reading Warren Buffett when I was 18, 17. I bought my first stock at 17. I had such a great respect for him. What a man to follow in the finance world. So I've always had mentors. I believe in mentors. I'll give you a quick story. My son, who now runs, my oldest son, Bryce, who runs my finance business, we were talking one day and I said, son, you need a coach. And he said, Dad, I've got you. And I said, son, I've helped you as much as I can. And where you want to take the business, I've not been there. You need to find somebody else. And he brought in somebody else that's helped him immensely to do the things that he wants to do.
Mm.
And so big believer. the mentors and how important they are. In fact, that's one of the keys to success as far as I'm concerned. Find somebody that does what you want to do better than you or the best.
I'm curious, mentors are really important. Are there some things you want to look for in a mentor? Because we can get mentors who are not helpful for us, but what are some things you want to look for when you're looking for a mentor?
Well, Keith, you'll love this. As I said, I went out to UCLA to watch a practice with John Wooden, and I was there for a couple of days. Guess where I stopped on the way back?
Where's
Indiana,
that?
and watched Bobby Knight. Now, you talk about one extreme from the other. It was amazing. But I still picked up something from Bobby Knight. I used his passing game offense that helped me in high school to win some state championships. And so even somebody, you can always find something from everybody that's been successful, even if you don't agree with a lot of the things that they do. And I didn't necessarily agree, especially the way he treated players and stuff like that, and versus how John Wooden did. So you can always find something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, as you think about the different careers you've gone on, what were the pivotal moments in each of those decisions that you had to undertake as you changed careers?
Well, I was lucky. There's three types of people in the world. There's people that are interested, there's people that are committed, and there's people that are obsessed. You want to find a career that you're obsessed. And that's one of the main, and I've been so fortunate. My first career, which was coaching and teaching, I coached at the junior high level, the high school level, the small college level, and the major college level. I was obsessed with teaching. And so I was very lucky. Well, when I decided, because of all the time, I tell college coaches today, Keith, I tell them, you guys are lucky. They said, you got all these breaks and all this stuff. When I was coaching, you could recruit 365 days a year.
Mm.
And guess what? I was out there most of the time because you could recruit. In fact, one of the rules that the head coach had when I was at West Virginia was I had to call him before I was able to come back. And I'd be out sometimes 30 days, 40 days on the road, going to games, going to see people, going to see an opponent, because I also did all the scouting. Well, now they've got rules. Thank God that they've got rules where you can only recruit so many days off campus and stuff like that, so you can have a life. That's what I told the coaches. I said, you guys are able to have a life. And it was probably some of the reason when I had kids, it was time to look at something else, because I just didn't see myself going on. I'd gone as far that I wanted to do that. And then my hobby was the stock market. Mm. We'd go on trips when we were on away trips, and I'd be reading Barron's and the Wall Street Journal, and everybody else was reading Sports Illustrated. And it was just a thing that I really enjoyed. Again, obsessed. And I'm still working at 76, going on 77, and love it. Still can't wait to get to work.
I love it. We all love winners. How did you maintain such a high winning percentage as a coach?
Well, I think when you look at factors of success, number one, I was obsessed. I mean, I could literally work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I didn't, because I believe in priorities in life. And it was, they were hard because I was just so driven, because I loved it. I loved it so much. But so being obsessed, you want to find a career where you're obsessed. If you're just interested, then you're just showing up. Now, if you're committed, it's almost like committed is pretty good. I mean, if you're committed to something, but it's that extra little bit that wins, more games and stuff like that. I also believe it was because of the mentors that I had, that I wasn't afraid to go out and look at the best of the best. And also that as I learned later in life how important good players were. I used to think maybe I had something to do with it. Heck, I did. I think it was just the players. When I was watching the films the other day, the couple state championships we won when I was in high school. And I looked at that and I'm saying, how in the heck did we win? I mean, my golly. I mean, the strategy was just so basic. I was very basic. But there's no question, as I look back on it, Keith, I was very lucky to understand that it took growth of your body, your mind, and your skills. And that's what I was unbelievable at. In fact, I wrote 2 books on basketball. One was on body development for basketball, and the other one was on the skills of basketball. And I would actually give the skills to the players in a book form, and they would be graded not only on their knowledge how to do the skill, but to be able to perform it. And I learned a lot of these things, again, from Wooden. Wooden wouldn't let you, in a ball game, do anything that you couldn't do well in practice. It wasn't even a thought. He took that choice totally out. Now, you're not allowed to shoot the ball except 3 feet, or you're only allowed to shoot from 10 feet, but you can't shoot it. They didn't have the 3-pointer, but you can't shoot it from long until you can do it. And there's no question. That's the whole premise of my book. It's about getting better every day at something. And it deals with all the different skills, whatever career you're in. You figure out, just like I did, here were all the things it was going to take to win in basketball. You had to have the body. Like, we increased jumping ability an average of 8 inches on kids. Wow. Now, that's a lot. I mean, that is a lot. That's a lot different. It can make a difference. Back then, also, Keith, there were a lot of jump balls, so it made a difference.
Yes.
And so it was just development of skills for whatever it was. And for this, it was basketball. And I actually, I still remember the course, that I took that talked about how you have to understand a skill to do it well. And it doesn't mean you slow down to think about it, but just when you're working on it so that you're working on the right things. That's all.
Love that. So what inspired you to write the book, Success is More Than Winning?
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, I think it's pretty simple. As I got later in my career, one of the things I've wanted to do is always give back. I loved my days in high school, and I wanted to go and talk to high school. I mean, I'm just an average guy. I don't have a big name like John Wooden or anything like that, but I think I have a lot of good things to share with young people. And somebody said, Lou, if you had a book, it makes it easier. And it has. It has. I have now about 25 talks. In fact, next Tuesday, I'm down in Florida. I'm down in Naples right now, in Naples, Florida, and I'm giving a talk to about 160 football players. They have a football day. Football is pretty important in Florida.
Yeah.
And, they're bringing the top 5 or 6 kids from the 18 high schools in Lee County, Florida. And I get to talk to them about what we're talking about. And I'm really excited about it. And I've got some other ones up in where I also live in West Virginia. And I've got talks there in Pennsylvania and Maryland. And that's what I want. And because of the book, it's made it easier. I can send a book to a principal, say, I'd like to come talk. They always ask me, what's it going to cost? I said, nothing. And they said, are you sure? I said, yeah. I said, I'm trying to give back. That's all.
So pouring into young people is so important. What message do you want, or do you hope to communicate to young people more often than not?
Well, that's a good question, Keith. It's the idea of how I've lived my life because of listening to successful people. I'm not the originator. I'm not going to sit here and say I am. I just was a good follower. I've really been a good follower. I've listened. In fact, listen to this research before I get into it. There's research out there that proves that the kids that listen to their parents, that listen to their teachers and their coaches are more successful. I mean, it's like common sense.
Yeah.
But we had to do research to prove that. And so I'm going to tell all these kids this. Okay, what does that tell you? It tells you if you listen to people that have done something, it's going to help you in life. And I'm hoping that I can make them understand the overall goal from the whole book is be better every day than you were yesterday in something. How do you do it? There's all kind of ways. You can. I try to work out in the mornings, so I've already worked on my body. I try to read 20 pages at least and learn some new concept or some new thing. It doesn't take that long. Right away, so by the time I get started to work, I've already done what my overall goal is, and that is to improve myself some way. And if you do that over many years, you get better. And then it's also just evaluating whatever it is you're going to do. I mean, and what's it going to take? Just like in basketball, what I did, I analyzed every skill in our offense that we needed. I broke it down. I made sure they could understand it, that they could teach it. They could teach that skill. Well, if you can teach it, you understand it. All you got to do now is practice it. And that's one of the reasons that I know, looking back, that our teams got better and we were very successful. And it's just, I was so lucky at an early age to listen to some good people. And I didn't say, well, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know this. Well, you know what? I mean, maybe this guy like John Wooden has won 7 straight championships in a row, and 10 total. He does know something.
He might know something, right?
Yeah, he might. And, I can't tell you this, Keith. I don't know why. I listened. I don't know why. A good friend of mine, Tony Fergale, who was involved in some of my books, my basketball books, who's passed away, just a great guy and great coach. And he said, Lou, you were the most mature high school kid I've ever known. And I said, really? I said, I didn't think I was. I said, I was a little naive, I thought. He said, no, you might have been naive, but you listened to people that were successful. And now we have research that proves it, for God's sake, that if you listen to people that have been successful, you have a good chance of being successful.
That's awesome. How do you define success? We just talked about success is more than winning, but I think that term success is very elusive today because it's not about money. It's not about power or influence, but how do you define success?
Again, I'm 19 years old. And I'm reading a book by John Wooden, and right here it is. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result in the self-satisfaction in knowing you did the best to become the best you're capable of. That's my definition. I never talked about winning with my teams. It was always do your best. That, how you win with your hands?
Yeah.
All it was do your best. That's all you can ever be. You can't be more than that. Now, someone said, but what happens if you lose? And I said, well, that's a good point. But it tells you the things you have to work on. That's all. It tells you things that you're not good enough here. And one of the things that I always did, again, learned at an early age, first year in coaching, I'm 21. We go 20-1. We go to the state tournament. We lose in the semifinals, lose to a team that wasn't as good as us, but they played a better schedule. And so the next year I had some people talk, and I talked to some people in college, and they said, Lou, play better teams. It'll prepare you. You're going to lose some. And we did, but we won our first state championship the second year. And one of the teams we played, it was almost like the Hoosiers story. They had 2,400 kids. We had 200 in our school. We beat them. And it was just, but it helped us. It gave us closer games, tougher games. And so in the state tournament, when it got tough, we've been there. And so, yeah.
It makes sense. You have 99 tips to up your game. If you had to pick maybe your top 5 up your game tips, what would you say those are?
Oh, my. In fact, I'm getting ready to actually do this at the football. the football day down in Lee County. And so when you look at the top tips, there's no question. There was a study done in 2004, and it tried to look at the most important things for success. And the number one trait that came out of everything it wasn't intelligence, it wasn't IQ, even though that helps, I can tell you that, but it was grit. And there's actually a book out written by this lady, Angela Duckworth is her name. Great book. I recommend to everybody to read it. And it talks about finding your passion, your spark. And then with that comes perseverance, because you have to be able to preserve, because you're going to have moments when it's tough. And if you don't love what you're doing, you could be in trouble. So that's the first one. And then I was watching a podcast, Keith, and they had Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs on. And they were talking about success. That's why I was watching it. And they were all kind of different areas and stuff. So finally, the announcer says, okay, give me your number one, without question, the most important trait or fact or attitude, whatever that you think takes to be successful. He said, I don't want you to say it. Gave them both tablets. I want you to each write it down. So they take some time. They write down their answer. They said, okay, turn them over. They turned them over. They had both written the same word. And the word was focus. It's able to focus on what, and boy, it's a very simple word, but man, does it involve a lot of things. It's getting rid of all of the things around you, all the things that deter you. Those are the kinds of things to be successful that you have to do. And so, there's two things. Now, one of the most important things you can do in life, if you want to be successful, there was a 100-year study. I have a lot of studies in the book, by the way, too. I have like 75 studies, 90 stories, patterned after Chicken Soup for the Soul. So it wasn't my idea. I'm a great copier. I'm a great copier of whatever it is that's success. And so all the different things that it comes down in this study, and it studied what's the most important for happiness, success, and longevity. 100-year study. They kept replicating it and finding things. Came down to your connections in life. So as young people, I tell young people in high school, get involved in every club. I don't care if you're a football player, a basketball player, go do drama class, do different things. You're going to make yourself much more versatile. You're going to meet different people that you never know down the road, how important those connections are. And it's kind of interesting. You'll love this story. I was fortunate enough in my first year in finance, I won a national award. I was Rookie Broker of the Year in the whole country. That's out of Morgantown, West Virginia.
Wow.
A little small town. And I'd beaten people in LA, New York, Chicago. I thought I was pretty good. I said, man, I must be really good. Well, it took about 25 years later, I read this study and I said, you know what? I don't think I was that good. I think it was just all of my connections, because I went to school in that town. I coached, won state championships. Then I coached at the university in the same town. I knew thousands of people. So the reason I won the award, I wasn't the best. I just had the best connections.
Right.
But, so I can say that now. I thought I was pretty good, but no. I mean, I guess I was okay. I've been in the business 41 years and I don't have anybody burning my house or anything like that. I must do a decent job. But it's funny. Back then, Keith, the way you were successful in this business, they told you had to make cold calls. When I went to New York, they said, you make 100 cold calls a day, you'll be successful. And after they're getting everybody ready and everyone's starting to make their cold calls, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and the teacher comes over and says, Lou, what's wrong? And I said, well, I don't make cold calls. And he said, what? I said, I make cozy calls. And he said, what the heck is a cozy call? And I'm saying, well, a cozy call is when you call somebody that you already know, or because of everything you're involved in, they know you. That's a cozy call. He says, well, I don't know about that. But, he said, I love that idea. But he said, do you know that many people? I said, yeah, I kind of do. I've been involved in everything. I've been in clubs in Morgantown. I was in Rotary Club. I ran the Rotary Club. I was Morgantown Touchdown Club. I was the president of Morgantown Touchdown Club. I knew a lot of people. That's why I'm saying, Keith, when I say, I look at all this, I think I should have actually done better than I did. With all the connections I had when I found out all this. So, so connections are important. Oh my gosh. When I think of the top 5, there's again research that says you are what your reference group is, and that's your friends. And there's actually nothing that's more important, especially in the teenage years, because we know what can happen if you get in with the wrong people and stuff like that. It's not good, and it's hard to break those kind of things. And so, friends and who your reference group is. When you look at all the successful people, it's amazing their reference group.
Right.
They're all right there. And so, I know how important that is. And if I would think the last thing I would put there, and I know what it's done for me, and that is successful people are planners. They're goal oriented. And again, research backs this up. There was a study done. They took, I forget how many hundreds of kids, and when they graduated from college, and only 5% of the kids had written goals. 5%. The rest of them, I kind of know what I want to do, or I want to do that. But only 5% had written goals. They looked at them 10 years later. The kids that wrote down their goals, looked at them every year, they were doing 10 times better than the other kids. And so how important is that? It's one of those things. Hey, guys, here's a study that tells you this. Are you going to write your goals down? Do you want to make more money? Do you want to become wealthy? It's so important. You're planning your routines. In fact, I'm putting together a workbook now that has goals, vision boards, where you can do a vision board. You do your goals, your vision boards. And then there's another study that was just done, the top 100 productivity tools in the last 100 years. Number 1 on the list, box planning. And what is box planning? Every hour of the day is planned. Now that sounds like, oh my God, no, it's time management. It doesn't mean it can't change. It doesn't mean there isn't fun things in there, but you put them in there. And if every day you save 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you get something else done, as you know, every morning that every single person wakes up, we've got 86,400 seconds. It doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter whatever, doesn't matter how smart you are. Everybody has the same amount of time. It's who uses it the best, and it's the number 1 productivity tool. I do my planning every single night. It takes me about 10 minutes. Now, it took a while, as I was learning, and 10 minutes, I can fill out a whole day. And here's the thing. Let's say that you've got a meeting from 1 to 2. You have nothing between 2 and 2:30. Then you have another meeting at 2:30. What do you do that 30 minutes? Are you getting ready for the next one, or are you making a couple phone calls in there? Most people waste time when they have a small amount of time. Where I try to get, like, I'll use the example today. I was getting ready for your appointment, and I was making some calls because I already had everything ready. I was making some calls on business. Now, I could have sat there and worried and was, worried about what I was going to say and all that, but I'd already prepared. as you said, I already had all my sheets done. I filled out all the questions and got myself ready.
I love it. That's really, really, really insightful. Lou, as you think about this book, what do you hope, especially young people, because you really wrote for young people, what do you hope they pick up with this book and walk away with?
Well, it's pretty simple, but it's the idea of the book was to make people understand that you need to improve your attitudes, your skills, your attributes to be successful. And you need to improve every single day. I listened to a podcast one day and it talked about how we grow and learn in public education and how we grow and learn in sports. And they said there's no question sports is better because sports never stops the learning. I'm still working on myself and I'm going to be 77 years old. And I just wrote a book. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh, well, it's over now. I got to do this. No, I'm improving. And it's what I learned from sports. And it's just, I want people to understand you got to grow every day and you've got to evaluate what your job is. So whatever your job is, whatever you're doing in life that you love to do, break it down, analyze it like I did basketball. And I improved and worked on things every day. And that's the whole thing. Get better every day. It's something that deals with something that's going to help you to be more successful in your career, whatever it is. I mean, I've given talks outside of coal mines in West Virginia about different things. And we've talked about some different things. And, everybody can improve themselves. But a lot of people get the idea that once you graduate from college or a doctor's degree, you're done learning. You're just getting started, just getting started. So that's the key that I keep putting in everything is how important it is to grow every day, Keith. Just you've got to improve yourself every day.
I love it. I love to ask my guests this question, Lou. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, wow. That was the one I had the hardest time with because I don't really think of legacy myself. I mean, I think that, all right, now I'm thinking of something. It's in the book. And hold on. I got to if I can find it real quick. I don't know if I can. While I'm thinking of it, give me about 10 more seconds. But I put in here, I put a tombstone. I've got my tombstone.
Okay.
That's kind of what you're talking about. And what basically I put on my tombstone is I want to be known as a good person. I want to be known as a giving person. I want to be known that I was a good father, a good spouse, and that I lived life to the fullest. That's what I want my legacy to be. And I want to give back. I got that as the last. I want to give back and try to help people to do the same kind of things that I've been taught.
So this is something new I started, Lou, for season 6 of Becoming Bridge Builders. I have my guests pick a number between 1 and 3 to get a surprise question that you did not get ahead of time.
Oh, God. Oh, no, wait a minute here. That's not fair. You're going to make me do an extemporaneous now.
That's right,
okay?
Exactly.
You're going to pay for it. No, go ahead.
So pick a number between 1 and 3.
Number 1. I like number 1.
All right. So your question is, here's a good one. What would be the worst movie sequel ever made?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. The worst movie sequel ever made, meaning that there's already a movie out.
Yes.
Do I have to name what that movie was?
Well, if you want, if you're brave, yeah.
No, I better not do that. The worst movie sequel ever would be something, to me, you can tell from talking to me, Keith, I'm so obsessed with, doing the right thing and successful. Well, no, I already know what it is. Now I've got to think about it for 30 seconds. Would be a movie that taught young people that it's easy. And there's only one way. I mean, in fact, I pick up books. I'm an avid reader. That's the other thing that I would add. That was the thing that I forgot of the last one was reading, how important reading is. But it would, and one of these things makes it sound like there's only one thing it takes to be successful. Well, let me tell you, there's no secret sauce to success.
Right.
And you're lying to people if you tell them that, because it takes a lot of different things. That's like there are, you can work hard and still not be very successful.
Right.
Because, I mean, if you're in the wrong area or you don't have good people around you or you don't have good talent around you and all those kind of things. So, yeah, the worst sequel I could ever see, and unfortunately there have been some movies like that give you this idea that there's some great, because I'm a great movie watcher. I watch movies almost every night. That's my way of getting away, and I love movies. And most of them really give you good things to think about, but it would be a movie that tried to make it sound easy.
Right. Be like Hoosiers 2 would be another one.
There we go. Yes. I like it, Keith. That's exactly. I like it.
So, Lou, where can people find your book, The Success is More Than Winning, and connect with you on social media? If somebody wants to have you come out and talk to their young people, how can they connect with you?
And you know what's funny? I've had some podcasts, and I've actually had some people get a hold of principals in different states. And I said, I'll go just about anywhere because I love to travel.
Yep.
And I'll make some kind of trip out of it, and so forth. So the best place is to get a hold of me is on my webpage was yesyoucansucceed.org. Yesyoucansucceed.org. And you can buy my book on Amazon. The book's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. A lot of the Barnes and Nobles have it. Unfortunately, I'm not a well-known. I'm not like. Talk about luck. My book comes out, and the same week, John Mitchell comes out with his 25th book. It's like, oh boy, nice guy to have to try to follow. And I think he's already got 500 reviews on his book, and I've got 22. But they're all good.
That's good.
They're all
good.
Yeah, they're all good. And people are really, the people that have given me the reviews have given me really nice reviews. I've been very fortunate. And then, like I said, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn by my name. All you got to do is look my name up, and I accept everybody.
That's so great. Well, Lou, thanks so much for taking the time to pour into my audience and hopefully pour into young people with the idea of what it takes to kind of press through the noise and find that unique passion of theirs that makes them successful in their life and in their journey.
Keith, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and very easy conversation. If you ever need me back on again, all you got to do is call me.
Well, you are welcome anytime, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Trailblazers and Titans. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the insights shared, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you the stories of the world's most inspiring leaders. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and exclusive content. Join our community of Trailblazers and Titans, and let's continue to learn, grow, and transform our visions into reality together. Until next time, keep blazing your trail and striving for greatness.